Hello everybody. I did a video recently talking about what model of XJS V12 I'd recommend might be the best buy and the easiest ownership proposition. And over and above the material differences, I put a bit of emphasis on the point that I thought the years the XJS had its biggest production figures, which was 1988, 1989 or so, was probably a key factor in hassle-free ownership that shouldn't be ignored now. The theory being that if the car was built when the people that were making it were making the most, they were therefore more experienced, happier, positivity around high sales when enthusiasm was up, etc. This would reflect in the good job they do and the resulting quality of the build of the car. So as a follow-up, and to expand further, I have this book that has some great pictures in it from the XJS factory assembly in the mid-1980s that perhaps will help to illustrate what I was trying to get at. So this is Jaguar XJS by Rivers Fletcher. It's a great book, and it has a significant passage on the XJS build process that I'd like to flick through. So yeah, look at this, starting here. The handmade car. So the point I'm making is that this car was not made by robots. I'm sure you've seen the videos of, car assembly where the robot spot welding arm comes along and makes all the spot welds perfectly and you end up with a beautiful uniform production resulting. This, by contrast, was very much a hand-built car as per the title. So the accuracy of the build, the quality is pretty much totally dependent on those doing the job, doing it well. And humans, generally speaking, get better at tasks the more they do them. So let's take a look. So flicking through, here's the grinding of the V12 crankshafts. That's the drilling the holes of the oil ways. Here's all the V12 blocks. Look on the kind of assembly line rollers. What's this one? Piston bore transfer machine. Here are the blocks on their way. Here's fitting of one of the bearing caps. Quality control look. Looking at the combustion chamber depths or similar. Here's the man with his hammer fitting the valve seats into what looks like a HE V12 cylinder head. Here's the chaps fitting the cylinder bores. Head gaskets. Heads going onto the engine. Here's kind of general head engine assembly. That's kind of the assembly line look. Here's the engine being finished. There's a nice line of them on their cradles in the factory. Then moving on to the body. That's kind of the assembly of two kind of major portions of the kind of the subframes. Here they are fitting the roof look. There's no alignment jigs or anything. They're just picking it up and placing it on. Here's the man with the spot welder. You can see he's just doing it by hand. There's no jigs or anything. So his accuracy with this in welding around the rear apertures on the window, is directly proportional to the quality of the build. Here's a shell on the assembly track. Here's a man doing lead loading on the roof to C-pillar join. No mask or anything back in the day, but I guess it was a different time, wasn't it? And yeah, look at this. He's I think he's doing using a metal file on the door aperture. Here they're doing kind of more adjustment work, assembling the shell, paintwork inspection. Here's someone assembling the front caliper. This looks like more front suspension bits and pieces. He's doing the end float on the front hubs. I've done that job. This is suspension alignment on a jig of the front subframe before it goes in the car. Here's another welder, so he's spot welding the rear cage look, the rear RRS. Again, no jig, all done essentially freehand. Freehand stick or MIG welding there, look, with one hand on the torch, one hand on the visor. Assembling the rear diff, rear wishbones. Here's the kind of RS coming together. Here's the front suspension unit. So big cat comes together. Here we go, fitting pipes to the underside. Can't tell which ones those are. Are they fuel pipes? Paint protection in the factory. Here's doing work on the interior. Boot or trunk fit out. Here's the wiring. Look again, all wiring done by hand. All trim done by hand. It's doing the brake booster. It's the car in the air. That's a US market car with the quad headlamps. So it looks like they kind of brought the body over the subframes. They can kind of lowered it down. It's quite interesting. Here they are again, European market car, US market car. It's kind of getting together at that stage. Engines going in. There it is, goes in from the top. Interior fit out. All that wiring. Brake fluid bleeding. And then we're into trim shop. Cutting out the leather patterns. Again, I think this was all done in the Jaguar factory. Mouldings, trim mouldings, fitting a boot trim, interior fit out, wheel alignment, water test. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if they did that on every car on the production line. AC gassing, done by kind of an overhead machine. There's the typical manifold AC gauges. Emissions testing, pinstripes, torquing the wheels, and it's on the road. So all those people doing all that good work with very, if any, automation. It's more like lots of little cottage industries in a way. I bet some of these workers were probably following in the same job and footsteps of their fathers who probably worked in the same factory. So if they're doing it more often and they're working in a more optimistic environment, would the resultant output be of higher quality? Well, I like to think there's a big case for saying yes. So that's it, really. What do people think? In the admittedly unlikely event anyone is watching, I'm particularly interested to hear from anyone who worked at Jaguar, particularly the Browns Lane factory, which is this, where the XJS was made in the 1980s. What was it like? Were there many industrial disputes or similar? Any particular low or high periods? Any positive cultural changes you can remember? Or maybe your view of the most poorly built bit of the XJS? I'd be very interested to hear about it. I can't imagine it was much fun working near this chap, I have to say. So, cheerio. The more you look at these pictures, kind of the better it gets, really. You notice subtle things, like, for example, this V12 engine here has, it's fuel injected, so it's not only carb one, but look at this fuel rail. There's kind of a rubber piece in the middle there. This is the front of the engine. Whereas on mine, look, it's got this kind of square rail. I think that might be the fuel rail that was replaced under a recall, kind of the early 1980s. Was it early 1980s? So yeah, I guess they kind of had leaks around this fitting here. But yeah, it's interesting. You can see kind of the coolant crossover pipe, water pump. It's nice to see how shiny that crossover pipe was when it was new. There's very few that look like that now.